Okay, I'm going to start to look at what's going to change. In the first instance, this is our colleagues in UCD's map, which I'm going to use over and over again, is that these urban areas are going to grow like this, no matter what we hope for or plan for. They will densify, they'll expand, they'll consolidate, and they'll self-organize. Between 4 and 6 new towns, real towns, will emerge, self-organized towns, demanding mayors, demanding rate bases, demanding tax bases, demanding improvements. They will no longer be the passive recipients of whatever it is handed down by the various local authorities or government ministries. These people will start to self-organize. Why? This is what has always happened all around the world when communities mature. As the East Coast gets more and more congested, fewer and fewer high-quality services will be able to get through there. I was one of the Egypts trying to do something like the 4-track study for the rail lines up and down the East Coast. It's never going to happen. They don't fit. And what's going to inevitably happen is you're going to see a series of pressure after pressure after pressure for further and further ring roads. Go to any of the big cities in the world and you see the same onion ring effect of people putting in an M50 and then an outer orbital and something beyond that again. The Lord Mayor is present. And then the other thing, one of those awful things that history continues to deliver, is as at the very moment we begin to finally pick up the baton of our own self-determine as a nation, in 2016 we'll be 100 years old, we will start to have a properly functioning capital city. And at that very moment, the same thing happens all over the world. That capital city starts to become a burden. It's carrying so many functions on behalf of the rest of Ireland. It becomes, as poor Tom Coffey and his colleagues know, expensive to clean and mind and maintain and run Patrick's Day projects through and support museums and art galleries and all those things that won't pay rates, and it becomes a burden on the thing that is likely to give life to the region. Happens all over the world, all over the world. And it's one of those awful, nasty things that comes up and bites people with ambition in the backside. Just when they thought they'd made it, they realise the very thing they were building all their plans on has become a burden around their neck. Now, taking those same factors, I want to look at what could go wrong. As they say in Cork, how bad could that be? How bad could that be? I'll show you how bad that could be. Same set of diagrams again, except in this case we're starting to look at them dynamically. The threat begins to emerge as these peripheral new centres start to come into existence. They are, and it happens everywhere all over the world, attractive locations because of lack of congestion, attractive locations because of available land, attractive locations because of relative greenfield situations, attractive locations because of all the things the suburbs bring with them, attractive locations because you can put in a car showroom as big as a car showroom needs to be, blah, blah, blah. This is what starts to happen. Eek. And as that happens, slide went too quickly, the city centres contract through a combination of competition for rates, having very heavy carrying costs on behalf of the region and on behalf of the country, and this rot sets in the centre of the donut city, the hollowing out of the area around the central core. It's one of those challenges we have to deal with, while we're also trying to deal with the issue of animating the Dublin region to become the engine for Ireland. At the same moment as we're trying to fix the whole picture, the heart is beginning to rot. Take those two things on, you can go into denial about them, and you know what? It won't go away. Or you can regard every piece of information about a problem as a welcome piece of news to help you move towards a solution that you hadn't ever thought was likely to be possible. Okay, looking at what's ahead of us in the Crossroads. Before we do that, everybody in the room knows that. The first thing we all have to start doing is understanding what we mean by Dublin and graphically representing those same circles like this, the central business district, the city centre, the urbanised area, and the region to scale are like that. They're totally different elements with totally different needs and totally different techniques and finances and organisation and planning needed for all of them. We have got to urgently understand and embrace that difference and urgently change the hierarchy so that this tells this, tells this, tells this what's to do. Currently, we all believe it's the other way around. That's going to be the single most difficult thing professionally, politically, socially to accept. You must start from the big and work back to the little. You must assign specializations. You must assign roles. You must divide up the cake. Beginning this way, is a route towards division, and it's a route towards ultimate dereliction for city centres. It always happens. Always. We're lucky enough that we have a pause for about 5 or 6 years to perhaps catch our breath and realise the threshold we're on and do something about it. The choices that are facing us are very simple. As we move out into the future, if we find ourselves having these types of characteristics of a region that is unplanned, and I mean planned in a spatially specific way, that is uncoordinated, that has a poor hierarchy of decisions made, that has duplication, that has competing centres, that has an expensive centre and a congested centre, every single 5 years when we review our plans, if these symptoms are present, we're heading for Donut City. On the other hand, if we find ourselves going out into the future with these characteristics of an economically competitive region that's regionally planned and coordinated, that has specialisations that are allocated and shared out, that is planned from the edge, from the outside to the middle, and that accommodates, above all else, all travellers, including cars, we will begin to be having a region. This is putting my colours to the mast of saying there are a number of different futures at any given moment. Anyway, there are dozens of different Dublins that could be out into the future. I just want to do a very brief survey of what a few of them could be. Could you pass me a drink of water there, please? These are just maps. I do not want any of these to happen. I do not think any of these could happen, but some one of them will, and we have the power to make it happen. This is unplanned sprawl. I've talked about this. This is the one that will do the harm. Frankly, the closest we're going to get to it with our current efforts is just going to be planned sprawl. Right? That is not a great achievement. That is a very low ambition. We need a high ambition to address and avoid the kinds of problems that I've been drawing attention to. One solution is to evolve towards something like, say, London, that wonderful city of neighbourhoods where everybody has a home and everybody has a place that they belong. And yes, there's a core in the middle, which is a national capital to all Englishmen and all people who are members of the Commonwealth. We make